You can't get to Thayer's crossing by highway. There's only the ferry. Comes twice a day if the weather holds, once if it doesn't. And sometimes, not at all. It's a coastal town no one moves to on purpose. Some people are born there. Others come to disappear. Either way, it's a place that stays out of the news and off the map. The fog makes sure of that. On the morning it started, if you can even call it a beginning, the fog was thicker than usual. The kind that eats noise, dulls light, and turns familiar streets into a maze. Edith Lawn, who ran the bakery on Main, was sweeping again. She didn't need to. She'd already done it twice. But it gave her something to do while the world held its breath. The bell above the bakery door gave a half-hearted jangle as Cal Witherley stepped inside. The bell always rang a few seconds too late, like it was trying to remember its job. "Morning, Cal," Edith said, not looking up. "What do you call it when the doorbell's got a hangover?" Cal removed his cap, shook out the damp, and smirked. "Give me a second." "You don't get one. Punchline's already coming." She paused, then delivered it dry as dust. A delayed ring. Cal made a sound like he'd swallowed something bitter. "That one's worse than the coffee you served me in '09. "That coffee got me a marriage proposal from the mailman," Edith shot back. Said it reminded him of his childhood. His childhood must have been full of trauma. The bakery was warm and still. The display case glowed softly with baked goods. Outside, fog pressed against the windows like it was trying to listen in. Cal leaned on the counter, watching the gray world blur past. "You hear the ferry?" he asked. "Barely. I saw someone get off. Just one." "That's not news," Edith said, wiping flour from her hands. "People get off the ferry all the time." "Yeah," Cal said slowly, "but they don't usually just stand there. 20 minutes, not moving, just staring up at the cliffs." Edith stopped wiping. "Tourist. Too still, too quiet, like a statue." "You talked to him?" "Didn't want to." Edith poured them both coffee. They sipped in silence. "Cliffs are cursed," Cal said suddenly, half joking. "My grandma used to say the bell up there only rang when something needed burying." "The bell hasn't rung in 40 years, Edith said, but she didn't say it like she believed it mattered. A mile up the road, at Grisham's Hardware, Leonard was wrestling with the antique register again. He smacked it, swore at it, threatened to sell it for parts. Ezra, 16 and 2 weeks on the job, watched nervously. "You ever think maybe it doesn't like being called a rusty bastard?" Ezra asked. Leonard squinted at him. "What, you a register whisperer now?" With a final clang, the drawer opened. Leonard gestured toward the shelf. "Grab me some copper wire, thin spool, not the one in the red bin, that one's cursed." Ezra gave a skeptical look, but obeyed. As he turned away, he muttered, "This whole town feels cursed." Leonard didn't laugh, just said, "Don't say things like that out loud." That afternoon, the fog didn't lift. Usually it thinned out by noon, but not today. Nora Clay sat on her porch, knitting something gray and formless. She didn't speak to anyone, just stared past the trees toward the old Thayer house on the cliff's edge. Everyone pretended it wasn't there. The windows had been dark for decades, but last night, a light had flickered in the upper floor. Not steady, just a glow, like a candle being carried from room to room. Nora didn't mention it. She just knit faster. At the general store, 2 boys loitered near the soup aisle, whispering like amateurs. I'm telling you, Cal said the guy just stood there. Was he like weird, or just Ferry weird? There's a difference. Yeah, Ferry weird is yoga pants and crystals. This sounds cult weird. Behind them, Miss Patterson cleared her throat. She was holding a can of tomato paste and looking unimpressed. "Ghosts don't take the ferry," she said flatly, "but something brings them here." The boys left in silence. At 2:40 p.m., Ezra took the trash out behind the hardware store. The alley was oddly quiet. No gulls, no breeze, just that heavy, smothered kind of stillness. He tossed the bag in the dumpster and turned to go, then stopped. A sound, like paper rubbing on paper, whispered from the fence line, dry and strange. He stepped forward. A strip of black cloth fluttered on the wire, but the air was still. He reached for it, then hesitated. Leonard's words echoed in his head. "Don't investigate like some idiot in a horror flick." Ezra turned and walked away. Didn't mention it. Didn't sleep that night either. That evening, the fog thickened again, and the man in the long coat was still there, still at the end of the dock, still staring at the cliffs. Some swore they saw him move his hand, slowly, like he was pointing. But when they looked again, it was by his side. No one approached. At 3:12 a.m., Nora Clay sat up in bed. There was no wind, no insects, not even her cuckoo clock ticking. Then, tapping. Soft, deliberate. On her window pane. Tap, tap, tap. She didn't move, didn't look. She just lay back down and pulled her knitting close. At dawn, Father Joel found something carved into the church door. Perfect lines, circular, clean, deep. Too deep for a knife, too smooth for a human hand. He locked the doors, cancelled Sunday service, told the town the church needed airing out. No one asked questions. By evening, the fog had started moving, not with the wind, with intent. It curled around buildings like fingers, swallowed up the trail to the cliffs. At the edge of town, Cal stood at his porch and looked toward the water. The dock was empty. The man in the coat, gone. No footprints, no luggage, just wet boards and a silence that pressed against the ears. That night, the bell rang. Just once, a deep, hollow note that rolled down from the cliffs and vibrated in the bones of every person still awake. No one said anything. They just stopped what they were doing, listened, and waited. But nothing else followed. The ferry didn't come the next day, or the day after that. Phones still worked, but no one picked up. Mail stopped. The fog stayed. People kept going about their business, slowly, quietly. No one went to the cliffs. No one asked about the bell. But a few started hearing whispers, from drains, from chimneys, from beneath the floorboards. And every so often, someone would pause, turn, and swear they saw someone standing far away in the mist, a tall man with a coat and no face. A week later, Leonard closed the hardware store for the first time in 40 years. Edith baked a dozen loaves of bread and forgot to sell any of them. Nora dropped a single stitch in her knitting, and when she looked down, she realized she'd been making a noose. Ezra tried to leave, got as far as the ferry dock, but there was no dock anymore, just water and fog. That night, the bell rang again, twice. No one knows what the bell is calling for, or who it's warning. But the town has gone quiet, and the fog never left. And far beneath the cliffs, the earth is still shifting, listening, waiting.